Deep in the quiet towns of New England, behind locked doors and quiet streets, there exists a story that chills even the bravest souls. A story that has haunted families, terrified investigators, and inspired some of the most notorious horror films of our time. This is the story of Annabelle. At first glance, she appears harmless. A simple Raggedy Ann doll, stitched features, soft fabric, a childlike smile that seems inviting. But the eyes, oh, the eyes, seem to follow you wherever you go. What if I told you that an object seemingly designed for innocence and play could harbor a presence so dark, so intelligent, that it could instill terror in the hearts of anyone who crosses its path? Tonight, we step into the chilling reality behind Annabelle. This is not just a story of a haunted doll. It is a story of malevolent forces, unexplained phenomena, and a line between the living and the dead that is thinner than most of us can imagine. We will follow her terrifying journey from the quiet apartment of two unsuspecting nursing students in the 1970s to the legendary Warren's Occult Museum, where she remains confined to this day. Once you enter Annabelle's world, reality begins to blur. Are these events truly supernatural, or are they a psychological manifestation of fear? Stay with me, because when it comes to Annabelle, the more you know, the deeper the fear grows. This is a tale not just of evil, but of curiosity, obsession, and the undeniable allure of the unknown. In the 1970s, two young nursing students lived in a small apartment in New England, balancing studies, work, and the loneliness of college life. One day, a gift arrived, a Raggedy Ann doll. At first, it was charming, a companion to comfort them in their solitary evenings. They named her Annabelle, never imagining that the toy would become the center of a nightmare. Almost immediately, small incidents began. A misplaced note here, a door left open there. But then, strange messages started appearing, handwritten, almost childlike, but always pleading. "Help us. Help Lou." The students laughed at first, assuming someone was playing a prank. Yet the occurrences continued, escalating with each passing day. Objects moved when no one was near. Cold drafts swept through closed rooms. The students felt an invisible presence, watching, following, waiting. One evening, they found Annabelle sitting in a different chair, one they had never placed her in. Her head tilted, her eyes seemed alive, and a creeping sense of hostility filled the room. The students were no strangers to stress, but this fear was different. Rational explanations failed. And gradually they realized the horrifying truth. The doll was more than a toy. Something inside her was aware, intelligent, and malevolent. They were no longer in control, and that marked the beginning of a story that would terrorize not just them, but anyone who dared cross paths with Annabelle. As the days turned into weeks, the hauntings intensified. The students began waking up to find objects moved, furniture shifted, and strange scratches on their skin. Shadows seemed to flicker unnaturally along the walls, even in the bright light of day. One night, they awoke to the sound of a piano playing in the other room, though no one had touched it. The cold spots became unbearable. The presence seemed to linger in corners, pressing on their senses. Visitors to the apartment would describe an inexplicable heaviness, a feeling of being watched. It wasn't just fear, they felt threatened. At one point, they discovered that their beloved dog would growl and bark at Annabelle, then retreat in terror. Even pets, instinctively sensitive to the unseen, reacted to the malevolence contained within the doll. The students attempted to confront the situation rationally. Perhaps it was stress, perhaps a prank. But as objects continued to move and as scratches on their bodies became more severe, it became evident. Annabelle was not a simple object. Something had latched onto her, a force that was aware, intelligent, and increasingly hostile. The The realization was horrifying. This was no ordinary haunting. It was a presence determined to interact with the physical world, and it had chosen Annabelle as its vessel. The line between reality and nightmare had begun to blur, and the students were trapped in a situation that would escalate far beyond their control. Desperate, the students turned to a local priest, hoping that prayers and blessings could calm the entity. But even rituals of faith proved insufficient. That's when they reached out to Ed and Lorraine Warren, the legendary paranormal investigators who had spent decades studying the unknown. The Warrens had confronted spirits, poltergeists, and demonic presences, but they admitted that Annabelle was unlike anything they had ever encountered. According to their research, a demonic spirit had attached itself to the doll, seeking a human soul. Its intelligence and malice were extraordinary. It was manipulative, patient, and cunning. Ed and Lorraine warned the students of the danger. The entity's objective was clear: to possess a human being, and its attachment to the doll was only the beginning. They advised extreme caution, telling the students never to touch the doll again. The Warrens prepared a special case to contain Annabelle, a sacred enclosure meant to trap the malevolent force. But the investigators stressed that the danger did not end with containment. The demon's presence was persistent. Even when confined, it could influence the world around it, feeding on fear, waiting for an opportunity to break free. Through their involvement, the story of Annabelle transformed from a frightening anecdote into a chilling case study, one that would go on to capture the attention of believers, skeptics, and horror enthusiasts around the world. After Annabelle was confined in the Warrens' Occult Museum, one might think the story would end. But reports of strange activity persisted. Visitors described a sudden chill, the sensation of being watched, and even glimpses of movement from the doll. Even behind glass, Annabelle's presence seemed to extend beyond her enclosure. Some claimed to hear whispers, others reported objects falling without explanation. It was as if the evil contained within her could stretch, touch, and intimidate without ever leaving the case. The Warrens noted that the entity was cunning. It thrived on attention and fear, making subtle, terrifying moves that no one could fully explain. People who doubted the supernatural before entering the museum often left unsettled, with their confidence shaken, as if the doll had reached inside their minds. The containment was necessary, but it was not a cure. Annabelle had become a legend not just for her past, but for the ongoing, unexplained phenomena surrounding her. She reminded everyone who encountered her that evil, once it finds a vessel, does not easily let go. And so, the doll sat in her glass case, silent yet commanding, a dark sentinel whose story continued to spread, frightening those who dared to investigate, yet captivating those who could not resist the allure of the unknown. Annabelle's story has transcended mere local legend to become a global phenomenon. Movies such as The Conjuring and Annabelle have dramatized her terror, reaching audiences far beyond New England. These films blend fact and fiction, blurring the lines between documented events and cinematic horror. Why does Annabelle captivate so completely? Perhaps it is the corruption of innocence. Dolls symbolize childhood, comfort, and safety. Annabelle twists that symbolism, turning what is supposed to be safe into something sinister. Audiences are drawn to her story because it speaks to a deep-seated fear that evil can hide behind the most familiar, harmless faces. Psychologists link the fear of dolls to the uncanny valley, a discomfort arising from human-like objects that appear almost, but not entirely, lifelike. Annabelle amplifies this instinctual unease, turning it into an object of fascination and terror. Even skeptics find themselves disturbed by the stories, whether because of psychological suggestion, the power of storytelling, or some unexplained phenomenon that defies reason. She has become a cultural touchstone, a symbol of the unknown, and a warning of the dangers that may lurk in everyday objects. In this way, Annabelle is not merely a doll. She is a narrative, a vessel for fear, and a reminder that some stories endure precisely because they tap into primal human fears. Today, Annabelle remains behind her glass case at the Warrens Occult Museum. Visitors are warned: do not touch, do not provoke, do not underestimate her. She is a silent sentinel, a reminder that evil can persist in forms that appear innocent and harmless. Yet her story continues to haunt the public imagination. People report strange sensations, chills, and even visual anomalies in her presence. Some claim she watches, tracks, and reacts, feeding off fear. Others see her as a lesson, a chilling warning of the thin line between curiosity and danger. The legend of Annabelle endures because it taps into something primal, the fear of the unknown, the awareness that evil can manifest anywhere, even in something as small and seemingly innocent as a doll. Her story forces us to question what is real and what lurks just beyond perception. As we leave her tale behind, remember this: evil, once invited, can never be fully dismissed. And while Annabelle may sit quietly behind glass, the terror she represents is alive in the stories, in the legends, and perhaps in the shadows of our own homes. So, the next time you encounter a doll, a toy, or an object that seems ordinary, consider this: could it be watching you back? Could it be more than what it seems? In Annabelle's world, nothing is ever truly safe.